Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. The galaxy is a place of cold, hard utility. In the Great Galactic War, most species followed the law of the lost. If a soldier is too wounded to fight, they are a drain on resources. They are discarded or recycled into biomass. The Krell Empire, the most feared martial culture in the quadrant, took this to its logical extreme. To a Krell, weakness is a sin. A wounded Krell is no longer a Krell. They are Zenka, the unworthy. Their own commanders would often walk the battlefields after a victory, not to find survivors, but to deliver the gift of silence to those who were no longer perfect. For the Krell, war was a binary state. You are either a conqueror or you are dead. There was no middle ground. There was no mercy. And they assumed the humans of Sol 3, the Class X predators they had recently engaged, followed the same brutal logic. After all, the humans were the ones with the Mac guns and the spite drivers. The siege of Valterra was the bloodiest conflict of the decade. The Krell had entrenched themselves in the industrial spires of the planet, and the Terran 52nd Medical Corps had set up a forward surgical center in the middle of the Red Zone, the most dangerous strip of land on the planet. Dr. Elias Thorne, the chief medical officer, was a man who lived on 3 hours of sleep and a permanent 4-drip of caffeine. He didn't look like a warrior. He was thin, his hair was a mess, and his hands were constantly shaking, until he picked up a scalpel. Then he was as steady as the moon. The battle had been raging for 12 hours. The human lines had held, but at a terrible cost. The no man's land between the trenches was a graveyard of smoldering steel and broken bodies. "Incoming!" a corpsman yelled, ducking as a Krell plasma mortar exploded 50 yards from the hospital tent. "Status?" Thorne barked, not looking up from the human soldier whose leg he was currently rebuilding with biofoam. "We have more casualties at the perimeter, sir. But it's not our guys." Thorne paused. He looked at the sergeant who had just run in. "If they aren't ours, whose are they?" "They're Krell, sir." A whole squad was caught in the crossfire of their own artillery. "They're shredded. The Krell High Command just left them there. They're actually shooting at them to finish them off." Thorne didn't hesitate. He wiped the blood from his gloves. "Get the stretchers. We're going out." The sergeant looked at him like he was insane. "Sir, those things just tried to eat our 3rd platoon. They're monsters." "In this tent, they aren't monsters," Thorne said, his voice dropping to a dangerous, low frequency. "In this tent, they are patients. That's the oath. Now move or get out of my way." What followed was a scene that defied every law of the galaxy. Human medics, protected only by thin white vests and the Red Cross symbols that the Krell didn't even recognize, ran into the line of fire. They didn't have rifles. They had trauma kits. They reached the wounded Krell. The alien warriors, massive creatures of chitin and muscle, tried to strike out at their rescuers. They expected to be tortured. They expected the humans to finish what their own commanders had started. Instead, they felt the cooling sensation of biogel. They felt the sharp, clean sting of painkillers. They felt the strong, steady hands of human medics lifting them onto stretchers. The Krell High Command, watching through long-range optics from their spires, were paralyzed by confusion. Their logic brains could not process the data. "Why are the humans wasting resources on the unworthy?" the Krell High Overlord demanded. "Are they mocking us? Is this a psychological torture?" "No, Overlord," a confused tactical officer replied. "Our sensors show they are performing surgery. They are using their most advanced regenerative tech on our soldiers. They are giving them blood. Human blood." In the Terran hospital, the scene was even more surreal. Krell warriors who had spent their entire lives being told that empathy was a disease, were being treated with a tenderness they couldn't comprehend. Thorne was working on a Krell officer, a high-ranking blade master, named Vax. Vax's lower 2 arms had been blown off, and his primary heart was failing. Thorne worked for 6 hours straight, ignoring the sirens and the explosions outside. He used Terran synthetic blood substitutes, reknitting the alien's complex nervous system with a precision that was almost artistic. When Vax finally woke up, he saw Thorne sitting next to his cot, eating a sandwich and looking at a tablet. Vax tried to sit up, his remaining mandibles clicking in an aggressive stance. "Easy, big guy," Thorne said, not looking up. "I just put 3 miles of wire back into your chest. If you move, you'll pop a seam and I'm too tired to fix it twice." Vax stared at the human. "Why?" he rasped in the Krell's clicking tongue, translated by the hospital's AI. "I killed many of your kind. I am Zenka. I am discarded. Why do you steal the breath of the dead to keep me in the light?" Thorne finally looked at him. His eyes were bloodshot and weary. "Because on my planet we have a rule. We don't care who you are, what you did, or what color your blood is. If you're hurting, we help. It's not about logic facts. It's about being human. It is inefficient, Vax said, but his posture softened. Maybe, Thorn shrugged. But it's why we're going to win. The medics' war began to spread like a virus of compassion. The human military command didn't stop Thorn. They realized something that the Krell High Overlord hadn't. Every Krell they saved was a devastating blow to the enemy's morale. When the human army eventually pushed forward, they didn't just find empty trenches. They found Krell soldiers who were surrendering by the thousands. The rumor had reached the front lines. The humans do not kill the fallen. The humans have a place of white light where the unworthy are made whole. To a Krell soldier who had lived in fear of being wounded and abandoned, the idea of the human hospital was more powerful than any Mac gun. It was a promise of safety they had never known. The turning point came at the Battle of the Spires. The Krell High Overlord ordered a final suicidal charge against the human hospital, intending to erase the stain of mercy from the planet. But when the command was given, the Krell soldiers didn't move. Vax, the Blade Master Thorn had saved, stood at the front of the Krell line. He wasn't holding a weapon. He was holding a piece of white fabric, a human bandage. We will not attack the House of Healing, Vax's voice boomed over the Krell communication network. The humans have shown us a truth our empire hid. They are not our enemies. They are our betters. They do not fight for the blood of the dead. They fight for the breath of the living. The mutiny was total. The Krell High Overlord was overthrown by his own guards within the hour. The war for Valterra ended not with a nuclear blast but with a handshake. The Galactic Council was horrified. They saw human empathy as a terrifying, weaponized compassion. They argued that by saving the enemy, the humans were subverting the natural order of the galaxy. You have destroyed the Krell culture, a council inquisitor accused Thorn during a post-war hearing. You have made them weak. You used medicine to win a war. Thorn, looking cleaner but no less tired, stood before the council. We didn't make them weak, Thorn said. We made them whole. You think the galaxy is run by math and strength. You think a soldier is just a number on a ledger. But humans know the truth. The most powerful weapon in the universe isn't a bomb. It's a doctor who refuses to let a soul go into the dark. He leaned forward, looking the Inquisitor in the eye. You call us Class X because we can kill you a million ways. But you should really be afraid because we'll save you too. And once a man has been saved by his enemy, he's not an enemy anymore. He's a brother. And that is a war you can never win. The galaxy learned a new HFY truth that day. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our ability to survive a death world. It isn't our logistics of spite. It is our pack bonding. We will pack bond with a ship, we will pack bond with a dog, and we will pack bond with the very people who tried to kill us. Because in a cold, calculating universe, the human heart is the only thing that doesn't add up. And that is why we will always be at the center of the story. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. If you're hurting, we're coming for you, whether you like it or not. If you enjoyed this story of the Medics' War, hit that like button. Comment below, is mercy a weapon or a weakness? Subscribe for the final chapter of Terran Ascendance, the Shield of Soul. The ward is quiet. The war is over.